Imagine the world of ancient Greece. Harsh Spartans sleeping on wooden planks and eating blood soup. Wise Athenians arguing over politics. And then, in southern Italy, he appears. Sybaris, a city where too much was only the beginning. If Instagram had existed in the 6th century BC, the Sybarites would have been its biggest stars. While the rest of the world was busy fighting wars and building temples, people here were occupied with only two things: pleasure and even more pleasure. So, why did their story end with the most ridiculous military defeat in history? We are about to find out today. Sybaris wasn't just wealthy, it was obscenely rich. The city was perfectly nestled between two rivers in southern Italy. The land was so fertile that you could practically harvest the crop just by looking at it, but the real secret was logistics. The Sybarites controlled the shortest route for goods traveling from Greece to Rome. Instead of sailing around the dangerous cape, merchants would unload in Sybaris, transport their goods overland, and reload on the other side. The Sybarites just stood in the middle and collected the taxes. By 510 BC, the city was home to 300,000 people. For that era, it was a metropolis on the level of modern-day New York. And when you have so much money that you don't know what to do with it, things start to get weird. The Sybarites elevated comfort to the level of a state religion. Here are just a few official laws and customs from this city that sounds like a total nonsense, but were absolute reality. The rooster ban. Yes, officially, the residents of Sybaris believed that sleep was sacred. Since roosters have a habit of screaming at dawn, they were simply banned from the city limits. No any noise allowed, only silence until noon. A quiet zone for business. All noisy professions, blacksmiths, stonecutters, carpenters, were required to work outside the city walls. If your job made a clink or a thud, you didn't belong in Sybaris. The wine pipeline. This is not a joke. The Sybarites were the first in the world to build something like an oil pipeline, but for wine. Through lead pipes, wine from country estates flowed directly into city cellars. State standard shade. They built covered roads from the city center to the outskirts, so that noble citizens could move around town without suffering the torture of direct sunlight. But the laws were only half the story. The residents themselves were legendarily soft. One Sybarite once traveled to Sparta. After seeing how the Spartans ate their famous broth and slept on hard mods, he remarked, "Now I understand why you march into battle so fearlessly. Any sane person would prefer death to a meal like that." Another case, a Sybarite was preparing for a visit. When he went to bed, he ordered his mattress to be stuffed with rose petals. In the morning, he woke up in a rage, complaining that his whole body ached because one petal, just one, had folded in half and pressed against his side all night. Then there is the third story. A citizen of Sybaris saw a slave digging the earth. He immediately complained of a sharp pain in his back. His friend, upon hearing the tale, replied, "Oh gods, you just told a story and my side is already hurting." All of this would have been fun if it weren't for the neighbors. Just across the way was the city of Croton. It was home of tough guys who spent their time training and listening to Pythagoras' lectures on discipline. The Crotonians looked at Sybaris like a bunch of spoiled children. Conflict was inevitable. In 510 BC, war broke out. Sybaris had a massive army, 300,000 men. Croton had 3 times fewer. You'd think the fat cats would have the upper hand, but the Sybarites made a fatal mistake. They loved a good show so much that they had trained their war horses to dance to the flute. When the armies met on the battlefield, the Crotonians didn't bother throwing spears. Instead, they brought out musicians. Hundreds of flautists began playing the exact melody the Sybarites used for their banquet entertainment. Hearing the familiar rhythm, the Sybarite horses instantly forgot about the war. They started dancing, spinning, and performing tricks. The riders tried to stop them, but the horses were too caught up in the art. The formation collapsed, panic set in, and the army of Croton simply cut down the dancing ballet. The Crotoniates were so furious with the Sybarites that they decided not just to capture the city, but to erase its very memory. They diverted the course of a river so that it flowed directly through Sybaris. The city was flooded and literally washed away into history. Sybaris lasted only 200 years, but it left behind a major lesson. If you ban roosters from crowing and teach your horses to dance instead of fight, be prepared for the day reality comes knocking at your door, and most likely it will be playing the flute.